You've won. The Purple Power has won. The day started out with Steve Mnuchin confirming that the White House will endorse the policies that this channel has been pushing and the Purple Power for upwards of 2 weeks. When this channel launched on April 25th, there was no Purple Power, even though that's basically the sentiment of this channel. I started to call it Purple Power upwards of about a month ago. And about 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, the policy should be pass the Problem Solvers bill, an introduction of a bill that's bipartisan, that got the White House's support at the time, and I said reject Nancy Pelosi's bill. Well, I told you on last Friday, let's push the envelope. Let's continue to back the Problem Solvers bill and make sure that other Democrats do as well. Yesterday, 2 days ago, the Blue Dog Democrats came out in favor again of the Problem Solvers bill. The Problem Solvers have remained in force behind their Problem Solvers bill. The Democratic coalition has not supported Nancy Pelosi, but yesterday she introduced a $2.2 trillion bill. This morning, it started with Steve Mnuchin saying, I'm supporting the Problem Solvers bill. And I will introduce this afternoon a bill that will resemble the Problem Solvers bill. And this will be the final go-around with the Speaker of the House. You finally won. The question is whether the focus now will become executive orders come this evening, or whether we'll have a deal. This is Afternoon's LALATE. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Afternoon's LALATE with big shocking developments, even since this morning, about the push to get the Problem Solvers bill to a finish line. I mean, it's categorically incredible that you, a group of people that found me on a channel that has now grown enormously in all 5 months, has now pushed the envelope to the outer edges. Last Friday and Thursday, we said, hey, let's get ahead of the story. Before Nancy Pelosi introduces her bill, let's make sure that Democrats and Republicans understand, and the White House, they need to pass the Problem Solvers bill and reject her bill. Well, the day started with a major victory for the Purple Power as the White House endorsed the Purple Power's position, which was, we're going to do the Problem Solvers bill. Incredible, great news, and more developments minutes ago. If you've not subscribed to this channel, please do. Go to the Venice channel, subscribe. This is the community. That's not just a channel. It's a movement. It's a movement. It's a bunch of Republicans and Democrats, a bunch of people that are just pissed off. A lot of people who simply just don't even use a computer that much, don't know what Twitter is or Instagram, but have done everything in their entirety to get this to the finish line, and have singularly agreed upon one subject. Give us our darn stimulus. If you have not liked this video, need to like it now as well. Put this video on the top of the rankings. No one is doing what this channel is doing. The #1 stimulus channel on the net, the fastest growing YouTube channel, the strongest movement anywhere, with 500,000 followers on social media, 2 million views a day, every 24 or 48 hours. We're absolutely blowing the lid. And let me get to the breaking news minutes ago. The breaking news as we sit here today is that there's 2 paths. One path remains open all the way to November to get your stimulus package and stimulus check. The other path will close potentially by the end of today. And I want you to understand that in this recording, I am not giving opinions. This is not going to be a channel for opinions today. I can certainly give you my opinion if you want it in another recording. And I'm not going to sit back and say, oh, wonderful, I think it's going to be done. Oh, I think we're almost done. Oh, wonderful. I'm not going to be doing that. If you want that, you can go look somewhere else. What I'm going to be giving you is facts. And the facts are that Steve Mnuchin has made very clear the situation. Let me explain first the executive order path, and then second, the legislative path. First, the executive order path. It is not done, dealed or closed today. The path to get you stimulus checks by executive order has no bearing or impact on the events of today. So whatever happens in the next 24 to 48 hours, it does not close or foreclose or block the ability of the president to give you stimulus checks. In fact, it suggests that it may go by executive order because the president sees that you're hurting, and the president has consistently said he's going to give you stimulus checks. And we have that path all the way open, ostensibly, to at least the election, if not later. And it could be done later this week, it could be done next week. So that remains the focus of this channel. Executive order for second stimulus checks, executive order for extension of FPUC benefits, executive order for a lot of different things. But a lot of the breath today is about the legislative path. So let me get to that right now. The day started with Steve MNUCHIN preparing for returning the Alpha Conference with CNBC, which I discussed would be a major twist today. I told you that yesterday. And he sat there with an interview with Becky on Squawk Box, and Becky Quick asked him a series of very targeted, specific questions about what's going on. Let me give you the overview of what he said and more details that you're only going to hear on this channel because no one else is really going into the credible detail. It was a video that went on and on and on. It was not transcribed by CNBC, so it requires the viewer to actually sit there and transcribe it, which is what I've done for you today. First, he has not accepted anything that Nancy Pelosi has said in that bill. Second, the tales or the misquoting or the mischaracterizations of his comments are that he is happy with the situation or content, but that does not mean he's content with her offer. Rather, he made very specifically clear that he's offering, that he's been listening to her for several days, and that today, maybe by the time of this recording, which I'm recording at about 12:30 Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast, he will have introduced his counteroffer. His counteroffer, he says, will be the problem solvers bill. Unbelievable. We have been saying, introduce the problem solvers bill, make it the bill of the choice, make it the only bill that we're working off of, with some revisions, of course. And he said this morning, we're going to do the problem solvers bill. And he specifically made very clear the words bipartisan problem solvers bill. He said problem solvers and he said bipartisan. So that was where we started the day. He also made it very clear that the offer was going to come in somewhere about $1.5 trillion. Now, there's other twists that I'm going to go on in this video, the next video, and the next two videos after this. Afternoons LA starts at every day at 3:30 with the check. At 4 o'clock is usually hazard pay, but also continuation of this video. The 4 o'clock video will go more into the timeline issue for legislative, especially with the issue of what I thought October 1st was a deadline for the airlines. He was asked specifically about that timeline, so I'll be covering that in the next video. The third video, FPUC benefits, I'll be going into more about how that will be impacted by today's statements, and finally the fourth one will be about rent, but additionally the twists and turns of how last night's debate is impacting your stimulus check. MNUCHIN said that, well, the president and I are working hard for a bipartisan proposal. Speaker Pelosi and I spoke several times over the weekend. We had a conversation for an hour yesterday. This is referring to Tuesday, going through different aspects of it. I expected to come back with her later this afternoon. I expect to come back to her later this afternoon. We'll have a general response, and I think we'll have a very reasonable response. And it'll be something very similar to what has been the bipartisan proposal that the problem solvers have worked on. Exactly what the Purple Power has been pushing for over a week. Absolutely, categorically incredible. And I hope we get something done because, as you and I said, there clearly have been some businesses that have been impacted. Small businesses which are impacted and need for more money for kids to go to school. We need liability protection for small businesses to open the economy, and we'll continue to work hard to get to the results to the American people who are impacted. That was what I detailed on Mornings at LALATE. Now let me go into more of the twists of what's going on. He was asked whether or not Pelosi has moved off of her number, 2.4, 2.2, and he didn't say she had. The speaker and I have a relationship that's all business, and it's effective. We've been communicating on that, and there's things we agree upon and things that we have differences on. We have been trying to see if we can manage a package that gets done some of what everyone wants. Then he was asked, do you think it's likely? We're giving it one more try, which is today. Today will be the final try, by all accounts, currently, until something else in the sky turns, to get this legislatively done, not executive order, but legislatively done, between MNUCHIN and Pelosi. We're hopeful we'll get something done, and I think there's a reasonable compromise here, something that the president wants to get done and help those parts of the economy that still need help. We're going to try to see if we get something passed. Then came this question, which is a very great question by Becky Quick from CNBC. Even if you reach an agreement with Pelosi, the Republicans have said they don't want to back something very big. They want a skinnier package, and you know that they last said they don't even want to spend $900 billion. What are you going to do with that? He was specifically asked, Mnuchin, whether or not he has any agreement from the Senate to even pass anything amounting to 1.5, let alone 2 trillion. He said, Mark Meadows and I have spoken to Kevin, was Kevin McCarthy, and Mitch, which is Mitch McConnell, yesterday. We went through our thoughts. Let's see if we get a compromise with the speaker, something that works, and then we'll continue to work with both sides to see if we can get all the language for the policies. If you hear those words, it's very clear what he's saying. He has no agreement for Mitch McConnell. He has no agreement at 1.5 or 2 trillion for Mitch McConnell. He has no agreement from the Senate that anything over 1.5 would ever be passed in the Senate. And he specifically is telling Becky that, hey, I'm not even going to push the discussion of can I get it passed in the Senate, because I don't even have an agreement with Pelosi yet. Can you give us the scope of the middle ground, says Becky. He responds, all the issues we were working with in the Senate, in the $1 trillion deal, were in there. This is also really interesting because a lot of those things were things that Pelosi did not agree to. In many cases, we have an agreement on what to do, but we have an agreement on how much. This is quite interesting. So he says basically when you go line item, category, they agree upon a lot of the items. They just don't agree upon the amount, with Pelosi asking a fortune and Mnuchin saying that's too much money. The most common example was Pelosi for 6 months wasted our time at $951 billion for staying local. Now she's at $450. That's still too high. The third-party analysis tools from Moody's Analytics to the Governors Association says it should be $150 billion. The White House has offered $300 billion. She's still at $430, down from $940. So I mean, she's basically killing the deal still with bailouts of Gavin and Andrew Cuomo. Gavin Newsom and Andrew Cuomo. So he was asked, what are the items you can agree upon? We can agree upon stimulus checks, back to work credits, schools, PPP, money going back to school, retention receipts, and airlines. We do support more money for the airlines. What about the airline deadline? And will they be forced to get this done by the airline deadline? That's the next video coming up after this. He was then asked, well, do you think that the stimulus is an issue of emergency that needs to be done right now? He was specifically asked about, well, there's some reports that say if you don't give stimulus, we could be sort of floundering the U.S. economy for at least 5 quarters. But if you do give stimulus, we'll rebound quicker. He says the economy is doing better than anyone said. Unemployment's at 8%, which is extraordinary. And we've reopened and we've been able to see a good rebound. Having said that, we have more work to do until everyone is back to work. The president and my job is not done. This package will help the economic recovery. The progress we are making on the vaccine and testing will also help the economy. Tests to schools and nursing homes are very cost effective at $5 a test, which we're going to roll out to get the results very quickly. These advances in testing will make a big boost in the economy. Then he was asked the question another way, basically, do you think we're going to get a stimulus package? Do you know what we have to do with COVID in the winter, your own forecast? What do you think with the forecast of where this economy is going? I've been listening to the medical professionals. We have a vaccine. We know the date. We don't know the date. We have invested in the vaccines to really pay off. The economy is tied to the medical advancement. More professional need is needed for the economy. As you sit here today, what's going to happen? Well, there's 2 things that you need to stay focused on. almost actually three. The first one is continuing the pressure points. The pressure points of this channel is where we have won to this point. We have won by saying we're not going to be screwed over by a woman that wants to give big salary bailouts to her buddies, big salary advances to the Department of Copyrights, big salary raises to the Department of Justice, big salary raises to the national parks, while we're sitting here waiting for our darn stimulus check. We're not going to deal with that. You give us our stimulus check the way we deserve it. So the pressure points are, first, getting behind the problem solvers, telling the problem solvers, pass your bill, let's pass your bill, let's reject Pelosi's bill, support the Blue Dog, support the New Democrat Coalition. It's worked. It's worked because the problem solvers bill is now the topic of the discussion and the only topic of discussion of the White House and MNUCHIN. It is only the only topic of discussion by the Blue Dog, Democrats, because in a press release yesterday that the chief communications director forwarded to a member of the Purple Power family says we're supporting the problem solvers bill, aka we're not supporting the Temple Dooms bill. Second, we need to remain our pressure on MNUCHIN. Our pressure needs to remain on MNUCHIN. Pass the problem solvers bill. Pass the problem solvers bill. Push behind the president. Push behind Kudlow and Kudlow and Meadows. Now, that push will change in the next 24 hours if the third push goes astray, which is the push against the Democratic leadership to say, hey, do the problem solvers bill. This is Seats for Stimulus. This is Seats for Stimulus saying, hey, you don't agree to the problem solvers bill. You can have an offer from MNUCHIN for the problem solvers bill. It'll probably be 1.5 by the end of Wednesday. If you don't agree to it and you sit back and you say, I'm at 2-2 and I'm not going to move at 2-2, then when you go home, just understand it's a one-way ticket because you won't be coming back. We'll be taking your congressional seat. And this channel and its viewership, which will grow over the next 60 days, will make very sure that every congressional leader that sat back and held up your stimulus checks because they wanted to do a salary raise for the Department of Treasury and the Department of Copyrights and Trademark and Patents does not deserve to be reelected. All incumbents need to be thrown out, whether Republicans or Democrats, whether House or Senate. You all deserve to be gone. And that includes the Republicans that wouldn't even go over $500,000 of stimulus, $500 of stimulus relief. You all deserve to be gone. You all deserve to be gone. Finally, that is where we end today, ostensibly, for purposes of legislative action. But we're not done then. If today closes with no deal, then the focus remains on this channel to get it by executive order. And we don't have a deadline of today, and we don't have a deadline of tomorrow. It only takes 10 days to get the stimulus check in your hand. It only takes 10 days from the president doing executive order that can be done by the writing of a piece of paper and publishing on the White House's website for us to get a stimulus check. It's as quick as that. It's as easy as that. And so we will continue the pressure on the president for executive orders for stimulus checks and FPUC far beyond just today. A lot of twists and a lot of turns. In a day in which I have to explain to you that the path for legislative is closing. And then there's this. Remember how MNUCHIN was asked by Becky Quick, what do you think about the Republicans in the Senate? Will they ratify it? And he didn't answer the question. Remember that? Well, after that interview, Mitch McConnell was asked about it. And he basically said, while paraphrasing him, he says, I don't think it's going to get done. He says, I don't think the Senate is going to ratify this bill at this point. They're too far apart. And Mitch blamed Pelosi. If you didn't see the stock market's reaction, it's as though they weren't watching this channel. The stock market went very high earlier today, believing that a deal was going to be coming because MNUCHIN sort of made it floundery sort of pleasantry without looking at the details, which he doesn't say he's agreed to anything with Nancy Pelosi. And then as soon as Mitch said, I don't think it's going to pass in the Senate, who thought that this junk from Nancy Pelosi is going to pass in the Senate, the stock market went the complete opposite direction. I'm not here to spin things, and I'm not here to give my opinions, and I certainly have a lot of opinions, but I'm here to deliver facts, and I'm here to get you to the finish line, and we will get to the finish line. I want you to remain focused. I want you to remain positive. I want you to stay on script. We're going to push and push and push until we get our stimulus package, and it's not done today, and it's not done based upon the wishes of two people. It wasn't that way weeks ago, and it's still not that way today. So go to the Finance channel, subscribe, because no one is explaining the situation as clear to you and as in-depth to you as this channel. Also like this video, because I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of crap videos out for this channel to compete up against with that says, oh, it's done. I'll prove you're going to check tomorrow. It's on the mail. It's, I have to deal with all that, and we don't need that. We need truth, and we are almost to the finish line. We just got to get over it. Coming up next is a video you need to tune in for, and that's about hazard pay, but it's ostensibly why the deadlines for the airlines may or may not be as apparent as it was just hours ago. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay FLA for more.